One of my hobbies outside of video games is cooking and baking. When I don't have a controller in my hands, you can often find me in the kitchen trying out some new recipe I found online. So I figure for today's challenge, why not combine two of my hobbies and ask the question, can you beat Fallout New Vegas as a chef? Now what exactly does that mean? Well, I settled on a few rules. For one, I can only use cooking related weapons. I settled on those weapons being the knife, the cleaver, the rolling pin, and the flamer. I never actually used a flamer during this run, but it got included because the white gloves use it to roast their brahmin, which I personally felt makes it cooking related because you literally see people cooking with it in-game. Rule number 2 is that I can only heal through food or drink items. That means no stim packs and no super stim packs. I'm still allowing myself to use doctor packs to heal my limbs, because at the end of the day, this run is going up on YouTube, and I don't want this entire video to have a lens flare filter, because my head's crippled the whole time. I'm also allowing myself to use chems, because they're pretty much necessary for melee builds in this game, and I'm allowing myself to go to a doctor to heal my limbs and radiation. But anything else medicine related, like I said, like stim packs and super stim packs mainly, not allowed for this run. I'm going to have to heal by chugging Sunset Sarsaparillas, Nuka-Colas, and eating full-course dinners. And speaking of eating and drinking, I decided my third and final rule for this playthrough was that I needed to play on hardcore mode. Hardcore mode adds the need to eat, sleep, and drink into the game, and I figured there was no better run to add it into than the one centered around food. And lastly, not really a rule, but a side goal for this run, I want to be able to join the white gloves, which is only possible by doing a very specific set of steps in the Beyond the Beef quest. A quest that if you've seen gameplays here on YouTube on this game before, you know is notoriously glitchy. But anyway, if you like Bethesda and Fallout content, be sure to go down and click that subscribe button right down there. I put out a new video every other Friday. Most of them are Bethesda challenge runs. And now without further ado, let's get into the run. I wake up in Doc Mitchell's house and name myself Souffle because I love a good pun, and then make my character look like me when I forget to do my hair in the morning. For my special stats, I just kind of make myself a basic melee build since most of my weapons are going to be melee weapons. I give myself 10 in strength, 1 in perception, 9 in endurance, 1 in charisma, 5 intelligence, 5 agility, and 9 luck. Luck was so high because I figured getting some more critical hits on my fast weapons might not be the worst thing in the world. Especially with my best weapon for the whole game being the knife, which if you've tried to use one you know isn't exactly a great weapon. For tag skills, I took melee weapons, repair, and survival. Melee weapons and survival for my main methods of dealing and healing damage respectively. And repair is just so I don't have to put any skill points into it ahead of time so I can fix the solar panels when I deal with the boomers. When it came to my traits, I took skilled, which is the best trait and barely has a downside, and Logan's Loophole, which is kind of a necessity for this run since I'm going to be relying on chem so much. And given the nature of doing challenge runs for YouTube, really doesn't have a downside because there's no way I'm hitting level 30. I then talked to Doc Mitchell at the door, turned on hardcore mode, and then turned right back around because I know there is a knife in Doc Mitchell's house. So after picking up my first weapon and making sure I had offloaded my Vault 13 canteen, I made my way out into the Mojave Wasteland. After getting done with Ghost Town Gunfight, I decided to take the trek to Vegas. On my way to Hidden Valley, while I was trying to take a nap on this random mattress on the floor, Malcolm Holmes woke me up and jump scared me. He told me all about the Star bottle caps, and I paid him back for his helpfulness the only way the New Vegas community knows how. Apparently this random powder ganger wasn't too impressed by the way I dealt with Malcolm, so I had to take care of him too. On my way through Hidden Valley, I had some time to reflect on how I've dealt with the Brotherhood of Steel in the last couple of Fallout videos I've made, and realized that between sparing them in Fallout New Vegas as a pacifist and actually having to join them in my Fallout 4 Rebuilding the Commonwealth series, I've been way too nice to the Brotherhood of Steel lately. That's better. With the Brotherhood of Steel buried under the rubble that used to be their base, I continued on to Vegas. I decided to take the Indiana Jones shortcut this time because I wanted that NCR armor, because I really didn't want to deal with getting shot at as I boarded the monorail. And then once I got to Vegas, I went straight to the tops to confront Benny. I made use of the Black Widow perk to get Benny to go up to his room alone. My game crashed, and then I went up and I attacked him with a knife. With Benny dealt with and the platinum chip in my possession, I turned right back around without talking to Yes Man and left the casino. Stepping back out onto the strip, and I had Caesar Salad and Ambassador Fairy Godparents both fighting for my attention. I had already made up my mind to side with House this run though, so I just went to the Lucky 38 to turn in the Platinum chip. And even though I'm working for House, I agreed to bug his network for the followers, because I really want power armor for this run, and considering how I just dealt with the Brotherhood of Steel, there's only one way for me to get it, and that's by getting the Enclave back together. Anyway, I also need some fame on these strips so that I can join the White Gloves later. So I talked to Tommy Tarini at the Tops about tracking down some top tier talent. Figured I was going to be walking around the Mojave a little bit, so I might as well be on the lookout. Although honestly, I didn't have to go very far for the first two acts. The first one was right outside the Tops, and the second one was in Freeside. While I was in Freeside, I decided to stop by the Old Mormon Fort so I could speak with Julie Farkas and get some quests from her. I'm not really going to be talking about the quests I did for her, just for sake of time in the video, but I wanted to get some of these quests done so that I get some more fame with the followers. Once I'd finished up with some stuff around Vegas and Freeside, I decided to start making my trek off to Cottonwood Cove. On my way through, I stopped by Prim to rescue Deputy Beagle, partly for the experience, and partly so that I could get my fame up with the NCR so they didn't attack me during the final battle. Then I took care of some ants for Andrew Jackson, and checked on the Legion bonfire in Nipton for Ghost. I got a little bit lost on my way to Cottonwood Cove and ended up at a place called Prim Pass that I'd never been to before. Despite the body I had to pass on the way, I figured there shouldn't be anything too dangerous over here. After all, we're on the eastern side of the map right now. Most of the dangerous stuff like Deathclaws and Cazadors are centered in the western side of the map. If you know about Prim Pass, it'll come as no surprise to you that immediately after thinking that, I got 3 shot by the Deathclaw here. After that humbling experience, I just went the normal way through Greenfilter Land and ended up at Cottonwood Cove. I make sure to whisper not underneath my breath as I tell Caesar's Dressing I'll destroy whatever it is underneath the fort before installing the Platinum chip for House. After this, I kinda just went side questing for a little bit. First, I made my way to Novak to get my last weapon of the run, a rolling pin. I tried to use this rolling pin to beat down Dead Sea, but I quickly switched back to my knife after realizing just how little damage the rolling pin does. Anyway, that led to me wiping out the Legion camp and rescuing the NCR soldiers, before marking Helios 1 on the map for some reason, and making my way to Boulder City. I probably could have resolved Boulder City peacefully, but if you've seen my pacifist run of this game, you'll know I had a little bit of a grudge against the Great Khans from that one. They were the reason I had to switch from an NCR run to a Yes Man run, and as such, I just kinda wanted to take out my frustration on Jessup and the Nameless Khans. Now Hoover Dam's very close to Boulder City. There's a snow globe there that I could turn in for good money, and I'll have to go there later, so it of course makes sense that I just fast travel back to Freeside after dealing with Jessup. I went to the Old Mormon Fort to pick up the one follower I'm allowing myself for this run, Arcade Gannon. Now I don't normally like the idea of using followers in New Vegas runs, since they make the game just a little bit too easy for me, but taking along Pac-Man here, at least for a little bit, is the only way to get the Enclave back together. And like I said earlier, since I can't get power armor training through the Brotherhood of Steel, this is the only way to get it. Plus, I've never actually done this in this game, at least not that I can remember. So anyway, I took Asteroids around and got his loyalty up to the point where he'll tell you about the Enclave and you can actually start the quest in order to get the remnants back together. At which point, he just didn't give me the quest. I thought maybe it was bugged because, well, it is New Vegas. But turns out I just hadn't advanced the main story far enough to the point where he would actually give me the quest. So I dropped him back off at the Old Mormon Fort until I advanced the story a little bit more. Now I want you to take a look at the strip gate here on my way in. See if you notice anything different about it, because I didn't pay attention on my way in and this was about to cause me a lot of confusion. After getting my next assignment from House, I decided to go to the Tops so I could talk to Tommy Tarini, because I had found all of the acts for the Tops. Now the only problem with that plan is that the gate to the next section of the strip where the Tops is suddenly didn't exist. Like there was still a wall there, but there was no gate for me to get through. On top of that, there were a lot of places on the strip that were lagging for some reason, even though they hadn't been lagging when I was playing on my laptop, which is not as powerful as my desktop. And this is why I pointed out the difference in the strip gate earlier, because I'm sure some of you are already kind of figuring out what's going on, at least to an extent. See, on my desktop, I've been playing around with some mods that affected the strip. I thought maybe they might make the viewing experience a little bit better when I did videos or something. But I ultimately decided against using them for challenge runs because they were really just causing my game to lag too much. But I never got around to actually deleting them. Now in every other game I play on this PC, when I launch the game through Steam and not through my mod manager, the mods don't load. But for some reason, New Vegas didn't get the memo and decided to just kind of start half-loading my mods. I had one mod that changed a lot of the exteriors of the strip, that's why the strip gate was different, and one mod that opened up the strip. The one that opened up the strip made it to where there were no gates, no loading zones, it was just kind of all one big open area. And for some reason that mod ended up getting half loaded in, where there were still separate loading zones in the strip, but there was just no gate and no way to get between them. This has been a pretty long tangent, but I am just glad those problems were entirely my own fault. Especially since I'm going to have to go to Gomorrah later, and that was one of the main places that had been lagging a bunch. Like, I was getting down to like 7 frames per second. Anyway, after talking to Tommy Tarini of the Tops about the top tier talent I tracked down, I decided it was time to make good on one of my goals for this run, which was to join the White Glove Society. I made my way to the Ultra Lux and talked to Heck Gunderson to start the Beyond the Beef quest. Now, the way that I have to go about this quest in order to actually join the White Glove Society means that I'll have to go about some combat. And despite the knife being a holdout weapon, I didn't actually have the sneak skill required to keep my holdout weapons for the Ultra Lux. So instead of taking time to grind out levels and get my sneak skill up, I just pickpocketed the kitchen key off Mortimer and went to the kitchen and got a knife there. It wasn't in the best condition, but it'll definitely do for the first part of this quest, especially since I do have to come back to the kitchen for a later part in the quest. And at that point, I can get more knives in order to repair the one I have. So anyway, like I said, there's a very specific way I have to go about this quest in order to actually join the White Gloves. And there's always a chance this quest could just glitch out and I don't even get to become a member. But first I talked to Marjorie about Ted Gunderson's disappearance, and she points me to Mortimer. Mortimer gives me the key to the investigator's room who had been investigating another disappearance in the casino. And when I get to his room, I realize he's not quite in the best shape of his life, though maybe in the best shape of his afterlife. And then 2 White Gloves come in and attack me. And this is one of the reasons I needed to go ahead and get that knife from the kitchens, because I would not have been able to fight them off with my fists if I was even allowing that for this run, which I'm not. But they go down fairly easily with my knife, if a little bit annoying because they can block my melee attacks with their canes. And in the times when Super Slam activates, when I hit someone who's blocking, they'll continue the block even when laying down. But I was never in any danger, they were just delaying the inevitable. Then I go talk to Chauncey, who tells me about Mortimer's plan. Then we hatch a plan for him to sponsor me as a member of the White Glove Society. But before he has a chance to do so, he gets gunned down. I then took down the assassin, who I swear had Stonewall or something because he never once went down to Super Slam for the entire fight, before making my way back to Marjorie and asking to join the White Gloves. This is why I needed to get my fame up around the strip earlier, because unless you're at a certain level of fame around the strip, she will just outright deny you until you get to a higher level of fame. But my strip fame was high enough that she thought it sounded like a great idea, and now I'm a member of the White Gloves. Now at this point, I've accomplished the goal I set out for myself, so I could, by all rights, just be done here. But I didn't want my new friends to become cannibals, so I decided to see Beyond the Beef through to its conclusion. I made my way down to the kitchen and dealt with Philippe before putting my chef skills to morbid use to make the fake human meat. Then I freed Ted, and we made our way up to the members only section. This took a couple of attempts because I kept making wrong turns and getting lost. I even somehow successfully failed a speech check on one of the attempts. Like, my repair skill was high enough to pass the check, but I failed it because I had Ted with me. Anyway, I finally realized that the way up to the members only section was just taking 2 right turns, and I didn't even have to pass the guard that had stopped me. And we made our way up to the members only section as Mortimer was giving a speech. Now this next section also took multiple attempts, but not because of anything I did wrong. It was just New Vegas being New Vegas. Because no matter what I did, no matter how long I waited for Mortimer to get through his speech, no matter what angle I came at him from, no matter if I was sneaking or if I just ran up to him, whatever I tried, for some reason revealing myself would cause Mortimer and all of the White Gloves to aggro on me every time. For those of you who've never went about this quest this way, this isn't supposed to happen. You're supposed to be able to interrupt Mortimer during his speech, and then he just kind of freaks out and runs away. But that just never happened. After about 5 or so attempts, I realized what was going wrong. Despite the fact that I am a member of the White Gloves, and by all means have every right to be in the members only section, the bouncer all the way across the room from where I was always constantly aggroed onto me. That means since I was technically in combat with the White Gloves whenever I talked to Mortimer, he wasn't having his normal response, and everyone just started attacking me. So in my next attempt, I went right on over to where the bouncer is and took her out. I made sure to stay away from all of the other white gloves so that no one saw it. And this worked, but not in the way I expected. So even though no one saw me dealing with the bouncer, somehow Marjorie figured out what I did and ran over. Now at first she wasn't aggroed, so I thought, okay, no problem. Game's just being a little bit weird right now. But then she grabbed the weapon off of the bouncer's body and then became aggroed. I still decided to see what would happen if I went and talked to Mortimer right now, and sure enough, he did his normal dialogue where he ended up running away. For some reason, this caused Marjorie to de-aggro, and I got the notification that I was idolized by the White Glove Society. But every time I went into my Pip-Boy to check it, the White Glove Society just was not on there. It was as if I had never met them. But hey, this quest is just so bugged, I'm just glad to actually have a way to finish it where I actually joined the White Glove Society and it didn't completely break on me. But that's all the side question for now. I figured I should probably get back on the main quest for a little bit. So I made my way up to Nellis. I used Turbo in order to outrun the missiles and got started on helping out the boomers. The first thing I did was actually repair their solar panels using some parts from Helios 1. And I then went down inside the boomers' power plant to take care of the ants. Now, I didn't have the device this time that actually deals with them all at once, but that didn't matter because I had my knife. Worker ants, soldier ants, it didn't matter what kind of ants they threw my way. I cut them all down without mercy and took their meat for my food. Anyway, the next thing I did was help Jack get a date with that redhead girl over at the Crimson Caravan that he had a crush on. By this point, I got enough fame with the boomers in order to progress to raising up the bomber from Lake Mead. I got the rebreather and made my way to the bomber from underneath the water so that I didn't aggro any of the lake lurks, and then enlisted the boomers' help fighting for Mr. House. Next up on House's list was for me to go check out the Omertas. Now this quest can be completed super quickly. You just gotta pickpocket Cachino's diary off of him, go talk to Troik, buy out Troik's contract from Big Sal, and then go blow up the weapons room. Just like that, me and Cachino are going up to a meeting with Sal and Nero. Now I knew I didn't have the speech skill at this point to get Nero and Sal to turn on each other, so I figured I would just claim the element of surprise by attacking Nero as soon as I got in the room. Well, not only did this surprise Nero, it apparently also surprised the game's spaghetti code, because it made Cachino and Sal just leave the room and then re-enter as if nothing happened. So I took advantage of this opportunity and gained the element of surprise once again and just attacked Big Sal before he had a chance to speak. I also really didn't want to find out what would happen now that Nero was no longer around, since he's supposed to start the conversation when you sit down. Knowing my luck, the game would have just crashed, banana. What I meant to say there is, and I didn't want to give it the chance to crash. House's next mission for me was to take out the Brotherhood of Steel, but yeah, I already did that. So he sent me to protect the president of the NCR. But before doing that, I was back to the old Mormon fort to pick up my old friend Galaxian. I've reached the point of the story where he'll actually give me the quest to get the Enclave back together. So we head off into the Mojave in order to meet up with the remnants. There are 5 people to recruit. 4 of them are just a matter of walking up to them with Centipede following you around and saying, hey, want to get the band back together? 3 of them say yeah. 1 of them says no, but I will. And then we made our way to Jacobstown to recruit the 5th one. Recruiting Dr. Henry is a little bit more involved than the others, but not by too much. He just wants you to go into a cave and figure out why the local Night Stalkers are able to go invisible all of a sudden. And once you find the stealth boys of the Night Stalkers that turned into a chew toy, and bring it back to the doctor, he's like, okay, cool, I'll come along now. Now getting into the Enclave bunker, there's no way to actually get the Enclave remnants to side with House, so you just have to tell them to side with the NCR so they'll be with you when you fight the Legion. Now this does mean if I don't want to kill the one that goes into the Legate's camp with me, that I'll have to get my speech skill up so I can talk down General Oliver at the end of the game. But don't worry, when it comes to the Legate, I still plan on fighting him. I'm not going to use my speech skill to talk him down. Now, I do still have to fight one of the members of the Enclave Remnant on my way out of the bunker, because Morena will not, under any circumstances, fight for the NCR. And I could talk him down with a high enough speech skill, but I'm still in the process of grinding that out. So it's not high enough right now. Despite his power armor, I've taken enough perks like Super Slam and Piercing Strike that I really don't struggle taking him down. And of course, it also helps having Frogger at my back to lay on some extra damage while I wail away at him with my kitchen knife. After I take down Moreno, I'm given his power armor and taught how to use it, and the Enclave agrees to fight alongside the NCR. Next, I just kinda did some side questing so I could get some levels and get my speech skill up for that final confrontation with General Oliver. I won't go into too much detail, but it was mostly just stuff around Freeside, GI Blues, working for the Garretts, stuff like that. Then it was off to Hoover Dam to protect the president. Now this, alongside with Beyond the Beef, is the other one of the, glitchiest quests in the game. Essentially, there are 2 assassination plots, and you should only have to foil one of them, but that has never worked for me in all my years of playing this game. I've seen it work for other people doing challenge runs. I know it's possible. I've never had it happen, though. And sure enough, just like every time I play this quest in this run, I have to foil both plots. I pickpocket the detonator off of the Legion spy, and when I go to turn it into Grant, he just won't take it. So I just make my way to the top of the sniper tower, cut down the Legion sniper as he comes up the ladder, and radio Grant for them to get the president out of there. Since I had already pickpocketed the detonator off of the Legion spy dressed as the engineer, he actually just ended up rushing the president as he was trying to escape. And yeah, that did not work well for him. Why he decided rushing a guy who had heavily armed guards while he was wearing nothing but an engineer outfit was a good idea is beyond me. But both plots were foiled, the president was saved, the NCR now won't be shooting at me as I go through Hoover Dam, and we're on to the end game. Oh yeah, and before we get to Hoover Dam, I went in and installed the override in the substation. I always figure that's a part of the game when you play through House or Yes Man. It's just such a minor mission that I just kind of forget about it every time. But anyway, with everything done now, it's on to Hoover Dam. As soon as I'm teleported to Hoover Dam, I make sure to immediately turn right and take care of the couple of Grey Khans that spawn. What can I say? I'm still holding a grudge for my pacifist run. And then I make my way into the dam. Now, I had been fighting through legionaries along the way, and I could have cut down these 2 power armor wearing NCR soldiers, but I really didn't want to, so I just used my high speech skill to get them to leave the door unattended. I installed the override chip so that House could have control of the dam, and then made my way into the Legate's camp. Now once I got into the camp, I let the Securitron and Enclave soldiers that were following me do most of the work, because every time I went toe-to-toe with one of the Praetorians, they absolutely bodied me. With that said, I knew a fight against the Legate with all of his backup was not gonna go in my favor, so I talked him into a one-on-one fight. Well, I say a one-on-one, but it was actually a one-on-3 because my backup didn't get the memo. But even if they had stopped fighting, it really wouldn't have made that much of a difference. It was a slow fight, because I couldn't really do much damage at all to him, and he could do a lot of damage to me. But despite that, I was never actually in any real danger in this fight. If you've seen any other challenge runs of this game, then you'll probably know that a fast melee weapon with the Super Slam perk is kind of the Legate's kryptonite. Once you get him knocked down, you can kind of just keep wailing on him as long as you need to until the fight's finally over. But once I was done with the Legate, I talked down General Oliver, talked to House, and hi there. Can I help you? Oh, okay, you're leaving. Okay, that was weird. But anyway, I proved that yes, you can beat Fallout. Oh, you're back. Hi. You're just leaving again. Okay, cool. But anyway, I proved that yes, you can beat Fallout New Vegas as a chef. Oh, it was good to be back in New Vegas for a run. It's my second favorite game of all time, right after Oblivion. I love this game to death. It was fun to do something else that I've never done. Actually, 2 things, I think. I know I've never done the Enclave storyline, at least to my knowledge. But I also can't think of a time that I actually did the main quest with House. Because I know for a fact I've done NCR, I did Yes Man in my pacifist run, and I'm sure at some point I did an evil playthrough where I sided with Legion, but I can't think of a single time that I've actually sided with House. Not that it's really that much different from any of the other playthroughs. Like, come to think of it, I don't think there's a single quest in a Mr. House run that is not in one of the other main story factions. Like, the NCR has the GI Blues as part of their main quest. The Legion has the White Gloves as part of their main quest. Yes Man has just everyone as part of the main quest. But I don't think there's anything that's like specific to house. But anyway, I'm getting way off track. If there even is a track to stay on in these outro sections, I usually just kind of speak off the cuff. But yeah, fun run. Great opportunity to combine my love of gaming with my love of cooking. The hardcore mode issues weren't nearly as prevalent as I expected them to be. I guess I'm just kind of used to Skyrim's and especially Fallout 4 since I'm doing that rebuilding the Commonwealth and survival, that I really didn't struggle with the hardcore stuff at all in this run. Like, you just kind of got to keep water and food on you and make sure to find a bed every now and then. But yeah, I guess I'll give y'all a little bit of a look forward into the next video I'm doing. I know I said I'd be doing quite a bit in Fallout before I went back to Elder Scrolls, but I just, on a whim, started a playthrough of Oblivion that I was planning on kind of doing in the background. But it's just such dumb fun that I'm actually like halfway through the main story by now. So I think I'm just going to finish that out and have that up as like the next video. So my next like regular scheduled video in 2 weeks is going to be an Oblivion Remastered. And then after that, I am going to be getting into Fallout 4 to do an actual like challenge run that's separate from my rebuild in the Commonwealth. Then after that, I don't really have any concrete plans, but I have a bunch of ideas just kind of bouncing around in my head. So if you like these kind of videos, be sure to go down there, click like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Yeah, and until next time, bye!